Hello, this is Jcamera here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Crash Bandicoot Resaurus action figure, Dingodile, released in the Series 2 line of action figures in 1999, to coincide after the release of Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. And here is the figure. So, I said in my engine review that I thought Dingodile and Entropy were going to be more expensive. Well, I was wrong. Engine ended up being the most expensive out of them all. Dingodile here was actually significantly easier to get. Although I had to make some compromises with some of the pieces, but I've made them look accurate to their original counterparts and for much cheaper value as well. Not because the ones out there are too expensive, but because I genuinely couldn't find any on eBay. But anyway, this is roughly what it would look like in the bubble. Definitely not exact, but close enough. You get the idea. So if we just remove him and his accessories, we can then talk about the packaging. So here is the open box. Like there's other Series 2 action figures, I got him used secondhand condition if it wasn't made obvious enough. So we have like the bubble background with the big number 2, Crash being flown away by a rocket from Earth, most likely Cortex Castle because of the Series 1 action figures. You can kind of see where it begins, which is cool. Like the spiral with the logo on it, the Resaurus logo, it says Series 2 on this side, Ages 5 and up on this side, the warning, choking hazard, labels, all that at the bottom, other labels here, maybe there's, bottom here, it's like video game codes. I said this was a barcode and it's like, it could be that, but I doubt that's the purpose. It looks kind of cool. I do prefer the packaging from the Series 1 line, I vastly prefer it, but this is a good one, especially fits the game of Warped. In fact, it probably fits that game better than a Series 1 packaging, or even if I prefer that one overall. We have the barcode right here, where it's made from China, and other text here. It's got the Universal logo, because Universal at the time owns Crash Bandicoot. Sorry for that burp there. Series 2 over here, the Resaurus logo with the company also being advertised. The Crash Bandicoot logo with an in-game model of him right here. Well, I think it's a promo for Crash, not really an in-game model because he's not nearly as triangular looking or pixelated. It says collect the entire Crash Bandicoot action figure series, and here they are. Advertisements for other Resaurus waves. We have 10th, Speed Racer, and Gex. The latter never coming out. It was cancelled. It was, I think, prototype, but it never officially released. And it says that all of them would release in 1999. And then there's an advertisement of the Series 1 wave of Crash Bandicoot action figures based on Crash Bandicoot 2. I've reviewed all 6 of these in the past, but to recap, we have Jetpack Crash Bandicoot, Jetboard Crash Bandicoot, Coco Bandicoot, Kimono Mo, Dr. Neo Cortex, and Tiny Tiger. You can find all these videos here on my channel. There's even a playlist of all of these action figure reviews if you want to watch them. And here's the Series 2 line. Most of these figures I already have, and I'll go in detail. We got Wave Rider Coco Bandicoot, High Flying Crash Bandicoot, Deep Dive Crash Bandicoot, Dr. Engine, Dingodile, Dr. Entropy, and the Moto Crash and Coco Duo Pack, which was an online exclusive back in the day. These 2 Crash Bandicoots, this Coco and Engine, I've already made videos on, so you can look for those when you're done, or right now if you want to. Dingodile, well, if you have common sense, you'll know I'm reviewing that right now. And then Dr. Entropy will be my next one. I actually do have Entropy now, and he'll be next up, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully that video will come out the day after this one uploads. And this one I do not have, and I might review it in the future, but the chances are unlikely because of how rare and expensive it is, so it's probably never going to happen. In fact, I might even do the VD Vortex custom figures before I do that, if I do that. But anyway, here's the packaging all reviewed and looked at. Now we should take a look at we shall take a look at the accessories. First up is this red gem. All of the Series 2 action figures came with a special colored gem. High Flying Crash and the Moto set include clear gems, one each, of course, and then the Deep Dive Crash had a blue gem, Wave Rider Coco had a purple gem, Engine had a orange gem, Entropy has a black gem, and of course, in the case of Dingodile, he has the red gem. I don't really have anything new to say, but here it is. Yeah, it looks cool, looks really good. Yeah, like in the game where you get the special colored gems. In fact, with Crash 4, they made half of them with blue and red, just not yellow and green. A good choice. Red is one of my favorite colors. It's not my favorite color, but it's one of my favorites, and it looks really cool. Okay, in all seriousness, this isn't actually the accurate gem other than the color. I am in the middle of 3D printing the accurate one right now or something, but this is just a placeholder. But don't worry, I think this works as a placeholder. It is a bit smaller, but like I got a 40mm version of it, where it should be about like 10mm, but this is as big as I could get it. But I think this works as a decent enough placeholder, as long as you can get all the gems at the same size anyway, but it works fine. And then next up, we have the backpack tank, the flamethrower, and the pipe. Now, all of these go together on Dingodile, of course. Unlike other figures, you can't really talk about this character's accessories minus the gem without connecting them together, because that's sort of how they work. So, I'll actually start with the mask. Mine seems to have, like, scratches on it, which isn't good. But again, I am going to go over these to make sure they look better. Like, it looks cool, like the yellow up front and then sort of the orange on the back. Like, he's experiencing the fumes in his nose, which looks cool. Like, almost something you would see out of an oven or something. Yeah, sort of like this dark grey mixed with sort of dark olivey greenish color, which looks cool. He didn't have a mask in the game, in Warped, or any of them for that matter, but I guess it's cool that he has it, like, to protect his nose and all that. Actually makes him look more like the games. In a way, it sort of disguises the hinge he has here, which to me looks cool. Yeah. He has, maybe in the concept art of the game they had this here, I don't know, but from what I saw, there was no concept art with this. This was a completely original Resaurus creation accessory, but I don't think he needed it, but it's cool, I suppose. And then we get to Dingodile himself. I will say, a lot of reviews show a very scuffed looking one at the nose, including mine, and yeah, the paint on him is not too good, I will not lie. Like, I have no idea why the paint on the front of his snout looks so bad, but oh well. Yeah, he is one I definitely need to touch up on, but he has a hinged jaw. We can see all those crocodile teeth and tongue and, like, the gums, which is the same color as Nuzzle, but whatever. And of course, the hinges on here. When you got him in the packaging, he would have, like, a bubble around his mouth to help rectify this, and I think the dimensions on the pegs have some very minor slight differences, but they really don't make a difference on the figure, and if you see these online, you'll see that many of them have their jaws straight up missing or broken. I am fortunate that that is not the case on mine. That is really good. And of course, he has the painted on eyes and all of that. On the front, he actually looks really cool. I remember seeing an animation with him on him, and it looked exactly like the model from the Insane Trilogy, which is cool. Even though the brown in that version is much darker, but still, this does come across. And of course, I'll talk about the articulation right now. He has 8 points of articulation with the head. Mine is quite tight, but it moves just fine. And then the jaw, which by contrast is loosey-goosey, but be careful because it is infamous for dropping. His waist moves on a pivot, and it's again loosey-goosey. His arms move back and forth. This arm here, his right, our left, also moves a lot. It's mostly so you can position a gun, which I'll get to in a minute. And then his arm moves all this way. And then his legs can move. Although you've got to be careful because this can open up a bit when you try to pose his legs differently. And they are relatively tight on my copy of the figure. And thankfully this figure does stand up very well thanks to his tail and backpack. So that's actually really nice. And now going to the design, I actually like how they have these straps here. It's clearly only there so this arm can articulate more, but it's cool. Like, maybe he has matches or some snacks in there, which is cool. This one, I'll admit when I first got this figure, I did thought it would move and I was a bit disappointed, but it actually works much better when it comes to posability and especially getting this gun to put in, which again, I'll get to in a minute, but still. And you have these straps here, which connects here to this patch, which is supposed to connect to the backpack here, which again, I'll get to later. Then you have this cool crocodile tail, and then down here, it's like all brown and such, which is accurate. And you have these sort of gross-looking pants, which fits his character, very swamp-like, sort of a dark tan color. And then these feet were originally sculpted to be crocodile feet, but then they realized that was inaccurate and painted him over to make him look more like dingo feet. But that is cool because he is mostly dingo minus the tail, which makes him more crocodile. So, like, the crocodile features are his tail, the sort of jaw he has, especially with the teeth, and I guess the toes and feet shape. And then everything else is very dingo-esque, which is cool. And the third detail on him is very detailed. Like, him and Tiny are really, like, and really just the mutant villains that got action figures back then had really detailed skin, while Crash and Coco had it very simple. There was some detail, but it was more subtle on them. And then these mutant characters, I mean, in the case of Kimono Mo, he was a reptile, so it made sense. While Tiny and Dingodile are mammals. I mean, I guess Dingodile's half reptile, but he has dingo fur, so that doesn't really count. But I guess you could logicize that. I don't know what word. Legitimize it. Logically conclude that that is the conclusion they came to. I don't know what I'm thinking. Yeah, my copy definitely could be used with much better paint, but it works. Like, you can see some of the brown fur is sort of looking a bit white, which honestly, let me see if it's any better with the light on and off. On camera, it definitely looks better. In person, you can still sort of notice it. But, oh well. Again, I am gonna paint over this. I did toy with the idea in the engine video of doing a compilation video of me going over the fixes I've made, which I'm still iffy on whether or not I'll do that, but we'll have to wait and see. And now to see what he looks like with all of his accessories. You know what? Nah, I'm gonna take off that mask. So, first off, he has this backpack tank, which has a really cool flammable symbol on it. And he has this cool watch timer thing on it, which I know it's meant to be like a meter thing. Liter, I don't know. Temperature gauge thingy. I'm not really that kind of person with this knowledge. And then you have this slot here that you just place back on here. And you just press it in like so. It's harder to do when you only have one hand, but there you go. I will say he is getting a bit heavier, but that's probably because of how I've stored him. But thankfully his tail does save his ass. Yeah, he did fall down, but I had to pose his legs differently because I was a little surprised. But he does stand fine on his own, which is why he doesn't come with a base, because he doesn't need one. But yeah, he has this backpack tank. You have the hose hole right here, which I'll put on the flamethrower in a minute. Mine is kind of bad when it comes to the scuffing, but again, I'll fix it. You can tell it's like a dark green with a hint of metallic paint on it, which looks cool. It is surprisingly accurate to the game when I actually researched it, and it actually does fit pretty well. You have like this sort of dark gray metallic color on the top and the bottom, which really helps, and like over here, it's sort of a bronze color, which looks cool. And you have the red and yellow checkered pattern, which looks cool. It's colorful while fitting the character's aesthetic and game accuracy. And keeps it exciting, right? Because, like, if it was all chrome, it would look boring. Or at least the same color, like silver or whatever, or a medium gray. And then we get this flamethrower, which you do have to pose his arms in a specific way, though. Like, you have to hold this left arm right here, and then even lift this one up a bit higher, and then... The trick I learned was to get... He has, like, two handles. One on this arm, and then the other on this arm, which you are supposed to move it as close as possible to the chest. Let me move that back up. And then, yeah, this one's supposed to be a little bit more up. Yep. I mean, you can kind of see it now, but you're supposed to sort of force it in. And there you go. You actually have it in there pretty good, which... He's actually not that hard to put it in, and I know I said in my engine review that he was the hardest to put in engine, but I was wrong. The bazooka for High Flying Crash is the hardest. I have no idea what I was thinking when I said that, but there you go. So this is sort of the pose you want your arms to be in to hold this flamethrower, and it's decently tight. Like, it's not really gonna fall out, but it's not too painful to put in, which I like. Yeah, like, there's not a lot of range you can have with this, but to be fair, in the game, it's like, as long as you can move his legs and even his head and, like, move him all there, it really doesn't matter, to me at least, and he still looks cool and all that. I mean, you can sort of move it, but there's not a lot of movement options you have there, and I think it looks really cool. And also I like that you have the painted fingernails and hands separate from the fur, which is, again, game accurate. And then we have this hose, which I know is custom, but... Shh. So, this is my custom. How I've made mine work is that I took a piece of paper and just shoved it in here after... I rolled it up and then shoved it in here as far back as possible. And then the other end, I try to shove in here, although it is still pretty loosey-goosey, but there you go. I think the shape, albeit not perfect, is actually pretty good. Now, I haven't finished making this yet, but to fix it, I need more black paint and tape to make it more game accurate. But yeah, there you go. You can kind of see what Dingodile is now supposed to look like, and I think he looks really cool, honestly. Now, this figure has two different variants, one with a black hose and then one with a red and yellow patterned hose, both of which are very rare. In fact, I cannot find any, which is why I instead compromised with this custom paper hose I made, which, again, I'm gonna paint it up and maybe even tape it up to give a better shape, but you get the idea. The black hose, the problem was the shape. It's weird with how it's shaped and all that, with the angles and points and all that. Well, the other one, well, it has the shape right. has two problems. One, it creates a really large footprint, like it would go a very long one here, and it takes up a lot of room, and in my shelf space, I really cannot afford that. But also, it's inaccurate not being black and all that, because in the games, it was all black. The first one is definitely better, but I'm not really a fan of the weird pattern, so as long as I can make this black, I think I got it perfect with the hose, and it actually looks really awesome and sick to me. And of course, here's the mask to complete the set. So it protects his nose, but let's just hope this figure doesn't open his mouth. Otherwise, he's dead from all the fumes. And of course, you have this red gem right here that he can just go ahead and collect. And a pretty awesome Crash Bandicoot toy to own. And he'll sit in your collection pretty well. And can recreate his fights, which are some of the best in the games. And, let me think of what else there is to say. Actually, yeah, I did think of something. So you can have, like, this maybe could work for the huge adventure, like in the first Game Boy Advance Crash game, where he's underwater for his fight, and then take it off for other appearances. You can even use this for, like, CTR Nitro Fueled for the costumes, I don't know. And then for Crash Bandicoot 4, you can take off the hose and this, which I'm not going to do because it's not easy for me to get that hose in there because I haven't fully figured it out, but that is a 4. If you want to recreate the Crash Bandicoot 4 version, this can be the vacuum gun he uses, and then you can take everything out. And then I love that you can actually have the option to separate all 3 pieces if you want to, like if you only want that for whatever reason, which is cool. But yeah, that's... And I also like that, unlike Kimono Mo, you don't need to take off the tail, it's already there, which they could have done, but I'm glad they didn't, because he's not as chunky as Kimono Mo. He's still chunky, like, he's much bigger than either Crash or Coco. In fact, in Series 2, he's the thickest, widest character of the series, but, like, out of the mutant villains, he's smaller than Kimono Mo and tiny width-wise, but he's bigger than Crash, Coco, or any of the scientists, or even the Crash and Coco variants, for that matter. I don't think I pointed this out, but I saw the checkered patterns on here, and I love this sort of temperature gauge they have here, which is cool, and there's a little bit of paint on here, which I don't know if mine is supposed to be that worn out, but it is. Not a big deal, but there you have it. That concludes my review on this figure, which looks cool. This may be the penultimate figure review, because I don't know if I want to get the VD Vortex custom figures or not. And the Moto Crash and Coco Duo Pack is very unlikely, even if I'm open to getting it. But regardless, stay tuned for my next video, which is going to be the Dr. Entropy figure review, which I'll definitely do that one since I already have it, and it will hopefully be out tomorrow, but whatever. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed my video, and I'll see you all later.